July 21st, 2014.
Lower Decks has been chugging along nicely in its final season, and it's definitely going to be a sad moment when we get to the end. But that's not today. So join us as we review episodes 6, 7, and 8 of its fifth and final season. This is Treknicity.
Welcome to Treknicity, a Star Trek podcast, where we do the deep dive on all things Star Trek. I'm your host, Patrick Murray. With me are my co-hosts, Mike Raper, from hanging out in North Carolina, and Lars DeSenza over in sunny California. Maybe not sunny, I don't know.
It is sunny.
Yeah, you suck. We got winter here.
Of course you do.
Yeah. We had snow the other day. We had snow.
That's more interesting for you. We got it, and yeah, we got our first nice snow, and it sucked.
I think we got snow up in Big Bear, but I'm pretty sure that's all artificially created right now.
Probably. Actually, I thought you guys were getting snow in the higher elevations there.
Up at Big Bear, I think we might have started to get some actual real snow, but I know recently when they opened, the day they opened the ski slopes there, all the snow that was there was generated.
Okay.
Welcome to Treknicity, where we talk about local weather.
That's right.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about something other than just Trek, because I get bored with it otherwise. But in this episode, we're going to review episodes 6, 7, and 8 of season 5 of Star Trek Lower Decks. So we're at the home stretch here. After this, there's just 2 more episodes of possibly my favorite Star Trek show of all time at the moment.
Ooh, that's some bold words.
Those are some bold words, because
statement.
It goes between that and Strange New Worlds, which really just packs everything I like about Star Trek into a nice tight package. And plus, one of my favorite episodes of Strange New Worlds is Those Old Scientists, which is the crossover with Lower Decks, because it also happens to be directed by Frakes, and yeah, it does everything right. So let's get to it. First episode we're going to deal with, Of Gods and Angles, episode 6. So as you can see from the thing, basically you have two nebulae that crash together, bringing the spheres and the cubes together, and they're basically they're hosting peace talks on the Cerritos. So obviously everything's going to go insane and wrong, and there's a whole lot of speciesism between cubes and spheres who can't find anything to agree on, because they're obviously completely incompatible shapes.
Yeah, for me, this is a complete callback to the episode of the original series where where they had the guys. One guy is like black on this side and white on this side, and white on this side on black on that guy. Like, you can't grant him rights. He's different than us. He's black on that side and white on that side. You can't do that. That's not right. It's wrong. Like,
although this one, it's a little more insane, because I mean, the cubes object to something because the number 0 is too close.
It's too round.
Yeah, too round. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then the spheres are mad because too many things have sharp edges.
Of course.
Meanwhile, our B plot is our demigod officer Ensenali, who is basically a daughter of Zeus and demigod, and is also do her own thing, anti-authority, kind of like Mariner seasons 1 through 4. So after she intentionally ignores what Ransom says and screws up things, because for some reason things short out and have accidents, Mariner goes to bat for her and tries to guide her along, kind of does the Ransom thing for her like Ransom did for Mariner. naturally, everything kind of goes wrong because she's off the wall, accusing spheres of murdering the cube's leader's son.
Mm.
Eventually, Mariner says to use your god power to solve the problem. That fails terribly and ends up embedding a lightning bolt into Boimler's ass, which comes into play in I think the C plot. Yeah, the C plot. Yeah, but ultimately, what saves the day is she learns her engineering after everything goes sideways, manages to disable the cubes and spheres so that they return. Because, of course, to do battle, they leave the ship and form a giant cube and a giant sphere, and then just start shooting each other. But her engineering skills save the day. So, of course, she goes back and she ends up going to engineering in the end because now she's an engineer again. Because that was what she really liked to do, rather than throw lightning bolts. Which also brings us to the resolution of the A plot because the cubes had a son who went missing, and we find out that the spheres have a daughter that went missing. So it goes all Romeo and Juliet, and they have this kind of half cube, half sphere baby, and yay, we learned to live together. So,
like if this can, I'm surprised that as vitriolic as they have been the entire episode, that they didn't turn around and like both of them decide, heretic, it's unnatural, kill it. Yeah. It's like is this a
well, they only have like 24. They only like have a half an hour to get this episode, so couldn't take it that way.
Fair enough, but still, that's kind of where my mind goes with it.
Yeah. Now, about the lightning bolt in Boimler's ass. Boimler basically wanted to get in with T'Ana because the Beard Boimler did that. And, of course, everything there goes wrong. T'Ana gave other Boimler the name Flip. So, of course, Boimler tries to get that and ends up getting hypo-sprayed with a bunch of untested anesthetics.
Yeah, it was good.
And then, of course, the lightning bolt in the ass that T'Ana has to remove kind of warms her a little bit. She finally gives him the nickname and then invites him to the book club. The subplot of that is both Rutherford and Tendi figure out what he's doing because he's using a bearded Boimler's pad, which is obviously different. They can tell because it's got a bevel that's 3.7% deeper.
And of course it's red.
Oh, really? I didn't even notice that. But what they learn the lesson they learn in the end is the best thing to do is to be like somebody else. Don't be yourself. Just
be somebody else.
Somebody else.
Now we will after we go through all the episodes, we will actually revisit Boimler Beard Watch, and you'll see some fun stuff about that too.
Yeah, we'll get to be Beard Watch, but yeah, what do you guys think on this one?
Oh boy.
So no, there were elements to it that I liked. I do like the. I mean, granted, it's not quite so subtle, but the way that they handle, prejudice and racism within the show. Again, you're exactly right. It goes back to shows that were done in the original series. Where you have this kind of class or race issues.
Yeah.
What it really reminded me of, I got to be honest, there was a cartoon from Chuck Jones. I looked it up. It was made in 1965. It's called The Dot and the Line. And it's about a line that wants to hook up with a dot. So the whole cartoon is about these two shapes. And I was like, this is what this kind of reminded me of, and it does have that, a little bit of Romeo and Juliet thing going on. I thought it was creative. I mean, you've seen all kinds of different alien species. You got a cartoon where you could have drawn literally anything from dragons to giant ants, and what did they do? Dots, spheres and cubes.
Yeah,
these aren't very. They're not creative at all.
So yeah, it's like such a cool idea to say, this is completely alien. They are literally just shapes. So I thought the A plot was very good.
But that shows the creativity because again, they took something that was very easy and had a really good social commentary episode on it, much like Star Trek is known for.
Yeah, and the thing that I also liked as well about this was there was no clear one is bad, one is good.
Right, but they each believe the other is inherently bad.
Exactly. Yeah,
Which is funny. And you mentioned the what you said it was a Chuck Jones cartoon.
Yeah.
For me, the one that came to mind was the episode. I think it was a season 12 episode of South Park called Go God Go, and it was the episode was a two-parter. It was the second part of a two-parter where Cartman is unwilling to wait for the Nintendo Wii to release, and so he decides to freeze himself, and he has Butters freeze him on a pile of snow, and of course he's frozen and he dies, and he's basically preserved, and they wake him up like 500 years later. There's this whole Buck Rogers opening theme, but anyways, when they wake him up and he's in the future, and there's this war between these three peoples. There's like two classes of humans, and then there's the otters. And the thing is that by this point, belief in religion is completely gone. But they still war with each other because they disagree on whose science is the most accurate. So
there you go.
So it's like it's the dumbest thing. It's like, and at one point somebody goes, "Oh my God!" and he goes, and this guy mocks him and goes, "Haha, you believe in an unreal or imaginary deity?" Of course. So that's kind of what came to mind for me. Is like this silly little, you take the most simplest thing that you could put on either side of a line, and you make something out of it. So again, the thing is, like, one of the concepts that I came up with for Treknicity, when we decided to bring the show back, was doing the good, bad, and ugly, and we've done it in a number of episodes before. The hard part with Lower Decks is I almost never find anything truly bad or really ugly. The only thing I can think of,
we could find something.
Yeah, I mean, like you talk about how like there's not enough usage of the character of T'Lyn. Well, for me, I was going to say is I feel like they don't use T'Ana enough because she is. I mean, for occasion, she is like there are people who say. Because Patrick and I have known each other for many, many years. And I often try to describe him, to people like I'm jaded. He's bent. Well, there are characters in Lower Decks that are jaded, but Tana is bent. I would say, in fact, like maybe Ransom is jaded and Mariner is jaded, but Shax and T'Ana are bent.
Well, considering T'Ana basically goes apeshit and just claws the hell out of Boimler at some point.
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
Well, I mean, there's even after
he comes in dropping casual cursing, which of course gets bleeped, then she gets pissed about that, jumps on him and just tears the shit out of
Is
him.
it this episode where she insists on getting basically tortured because she gets off on it?
Oh no, that's a couple episodes from this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
We'll get to that one.
Oh, that's right. So yeah, I mean, for me, again, I'm sorry, it sounds cliched, but this is classic Star Trek. This is absolute classic Star Trek, and of course they knock it out of the park.
Yep. Now let's see here. Nope, that's not the right one. Oh, I'm just trying to remember. The B plot is actually they draw upon the original series episode "Who Mourns for Adonis."
Yeah,
because obviously it's those Greek gods that faded away, but nope, they have children.
Yeah, so it's funny. They didn't just fade away. They, hey, didn't
Kirk kicked his ass.
It's like, didn't your ancestors like go off, to do other things? And yeah, they did. They went off and had children. Whoops. And of course what was the thing around her head? I want to say
laurels.
The laurels. Thank you.
Laurels.
Yeah, it's not a piece of fashion. It's part of her anatomy. I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just all awesome. But the bevel joke was the best.
Because they've done. The thing is, this isn't the first time they brought that up. They've brought it up before.
No, Rutherford spots it immediately, and then Tendi brings it up immediately later in the episode, and that's the fun part.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing that could have made it better is if T'Lyn spotted the bevel.
Oh yeah,
instead of noticing it was
that'd
red.
have been hilarious. Yeah, but I'm
But
sure
Talin does disappear from this episode, so I'm happy at least.
there was an earlier episode where Rutherford calls out Boimler on using the alternate the alternate universe pad, and he's like, how did you know that was an alternate universe one? He was like, well, the bevel is 3.7% deeper, and he goes, oh, and it's red. He goes, I thought you just knew because it was red.
That was this episode, so
was it this episode where he goes in? Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so as my mother is off to say when I ask her questions, she's like, I don't know. I've slept since then.
Well, yeah, it was just the best joke of an already hilarious episode. Anything bad that you could spot in this one? I think the one thing I'd say is Ensign Ollie tends to be a little bit overly obnoxious. I mean, it's like, literally Mariner being over the top like she was in season 1 episode. What was the one where they do the movie? I forget off the top of my head the episode name.
Wasn't the Crisis Point?
Crisis Point, The Rise of Invicta. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Crisis Point. Yeah. She was that it was that level of over the top, but as a regular character, I think when my daughter and I watched it, Ollie rubbed her the wrong way a little bit.
She was kind of obnoxious. Yeah, I will give it that. But if that's the worst part of the episode, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's, like I said, that's the worst thing I can think of.
They did it too. I mean, they made her that way not for her character. They made her that way for Mariner's character.
Yeah.
The point is she's Mariner 2.0 for Mariner to show her progression.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so that's why she, made her the way she is.
Which works, but yeah, it's kind of that. So.
Yeah, that's the only bad thing is, again, with that character, it's not so much the attitude, it's just like the whole, I didn't think that saying, oh, she's demigod was necessary. I was like, why are we doing this? You don't need to do this.
So she could use her powers later, absorb all their energy, and then fire out lightning bolts accidentally, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
So,
but if that's if that's the worst part of it, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Again, the CinemaSins, for example, their rule is no movie is beyond sin. No episode is going to be absolutely perfect.
True. Fair enough. I go with that.
That's true. Yeah.
So let's get to the next almost but not perfect episode, Fully Dilated. So the setup for this one is basically the Cerritos is cleaning up yet another dimensional fissure, something about a purple Enterprise coming through, fighting a clone of Tasha Yar or something. Who cares? They detect some debris got down to a planet, but the planet has some weird time dilation, so very little time passes on the ship, but hours, days, or weeks or months could pass on the planet, depending how long.
I want to say it was for every second. Was it every second on the Cerritos? It was a week on the planet.
Yeah, so it's like literally beam them down, get a couple seconds, beam them back, and it's done.
Pretty much, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so that's the setup. The subplot of that is Boimler and Rutherford have some big drinks. So
the
have some big drinks. They beam Mariner, Tendi, and Talin beam down to the planet to go locate the stuff. When they do that, when Boimler and Rutherford do that, they spill their drinks on, and they spend a couple minutes trying to get the panels clean. They rip off the uniforms. That doesn't help. They start licking the panel, and it shocks them. Yeah. And finally, they beam them back 10 months later.
Which is just a couple of minutes.
A couple minutes for them. 10 months later on the planet, they get beamed back. So the main plot is Mariner, Tendi, and Talin are beaming down to get the equipment. They have to kind of blend in because it's a pre-warp civilization. There's the one guy who's always suspicious, who doesn't trust people, follows them, and is constantly bugging him for 10 months. They find the crash torch most everything except they find Data's head, and it's purple Data. And once Tendi figures out how to get it working, we get Brent Spiner.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Again, this is another great example of the older Trek actors being able to revive their characters because they're not having to appear on screen. Obviously, oh my goodness, Janeway, actress. Sorry, brain fart.
Kate Mulgrew.
Thank you, Kate Mulgrew.
Columbo's wife.
Yeah, Columbo's wife. Kate Mulgrew, revived the character of Janeway in Star Trek Prodigy because, of course, it's animated and it's much easier to do that.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you could bring characters back animated real easy.
Yeah,
so
we had Quark in this series at one point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And Kira, and Riker and Troy.
Yep.
Trying to think who else we've had. And crap, I can't even remember Zephyr Cochrane.
Oh yeah,
Cromwell showed up to do Cochrane.
James Cromwell. Yep.
Oh yeah, James Cromwell. Yeah.
If you guys disagree with anything or think we're
and
wrong,
Martok.
Yeah.
There.
Right here.
If we've forgotten anybody.
Sorry.
And Q. Don't forget Q.
Oh, of course, John Delancey. Yep.
Yeah, there's just so many. But yeah, they spend 10 months on the planet, and eventually they get beamed back and give Boimler and Rutherford shit for having those drinks and spilling them on the panel, which is why drinks aren't allowed. So B and C plots. Tendi and T'Lyn are up for possible chief science officer role. Tendi, of course, being Tendi, gets obsessive and decides to build really insane things because, of course, she does, because it's Tendi trying to do her over the top. I've got to be the best. T'Lyn, meanwhile, is just trying to take care of things and make sure they've got stuff, but she fails to communicate that properly, which is her failing. Ultimately, when they get back to the ship, we find out that a recommend on Purple Data's head recommends to the captain, and they get chief science officer, which is kind of cool. Mariner, meanwhile, is trying to remember the Picard focused episode Inner Light and tries to do that, and is a lot less successful than she intends to. I think at some point she puts out some sacred flame and gets locked up for that after getting locked up for something else.
Oh yeah. Well, it is.
And then she tries to learn to play a flute, but she has a soap flute and it doesn't work right.
That's right. She does the whole Inner Light thing.
Yeah. The great thing is we get a good amount of T'Lyn time, so I'm automatically happy with this. We get a lot of Tendi time, which I get and enjoy, and Mariner gets to be ridiculous.
And of course, Rutherford and Boimler get to be bumbling idiots, which, we don't...
For 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Just enough to sweeten the pot.
Yeah, they're not the focus of the episode, obviously.
No, and that's good. I mean, really, we needed something that was a little bit more, focusing on the ladies, the lower decker ladies in this one, and it was really well
Girl
done. Girl power. I can't find anything really bad about this episode, let alone ugly. So, again, great writing, good storytelling, great premise of the story. I love the time dilation element to it. So, it's like kind of reminds me of the movie Interstellar. Because they're close to a black hole, there's time dilation, and so for every hour they're on this planet, so many like months or years pass on Earth, and it's like, okay. So I just love that concept in general.
Yeah, to me, I was going to go a totally different direction. It reminded me of an episode of Farscape called The Locket, where there's a planet that's in kind of like a nebula or whatever, where years and years go by for minutes on the ship. And there's a whole plot where Aaron goes to the planet and it comes back and she's really old because she's lived like 100 years on this planet, And that was the first thing I thought with this was that.
Okay, that's a deep cut.
Yeah, I would say the one true thing
Farscape is weird for me.
that I remember from Farscape was the invention of the swear word "frel."
Mhm.
Well, yeah, we'll use that here.
Frelene.
Well, they had other ones too. Frail has mana. Yeah. I'm sorry, folks. I'm a Farscape
Yeah.
fan.
Yeah, Star Trek just bleeps them.
Just like our
Until
episode.
at least until we got to Discovery, but oh well.
Oh, okay. Mm-mm.
Then we make that a running joke for the following seasons, which is actually funny. I'll grant them that. They recovered from that
Fair enough.
sloppy
Yeah.
mess.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, but they make the same mistake again in Picard, so I don't know.
Yeah. But let's be honest, I think they were just tired. Everybody was just tired at that point.
Yeah, probably. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I guess I gotta give you that one.
Yeah. Okay, so if there's not much else we got, yeah, I can't think of anything ugly in this episode. It's just on point.
No,
I'm sure there's something, if we analyze it deep enough, we'll find something.
No, I mean, there was nothing ugly. There was nothing bad. I'm not going to say it was a filler episode, but it was just, it didn't really progress the main plot that much.
No.
Well, they did have the portal. They did have dimensional rifts to fix in this one. The prior episode and the next episode, they don't have a
They
rift.
don't. Mhm.
Yeah, so this one actually did tie into the main plot, which we're gonna have to find out. That's got to pay off in the next 2 episodes.
Yeah, it's got to.
Well,
I mean, I would say in episode 9, it's definitely got, because you got to know what's going on so that the last episode can be the resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I mean by that, the plot, I guess, is like, this whole season to me has been about character development for your 2 leads, Boimler and Mariner. This episode really didn't do much with that. And it's fine. They don't have to, but that was,
It was a Tendy episode.
Yeah, this was not a
awesome.
main character episode, so that's okay though.
Yeah. The next episode is even less main characters. That is episode 8, Upper Decks. This one was really cool because it obviously plays off the 7th season episode of TNG, Lower Decks, the episode that inspired the series that has this episode. Wow, that's circular.
Yeah, that's a kind of a deep cut.
So I'm going to go to the Z plot, which is basically the lower deckers are carving pumpkins. We even get a really cool V'ger. And the episode ends with them talking about how nothing seems to exciting happens on the Cerritos without them. That is literally everything for our main characters.
Mm-hmm.
So an opening scene and an end scene. This is about the main upper deckers. So the command crew themselves, the crew that's the focus of every other Star Trek show, gets their own episode finally. Okay, so basically, and I don't remember the name of them, but they're basically studying these space cows that have that can cloak themselves.
Oh yeah.
I tried to look up the name and I couldn't find it right away. So I was like, I'm giving up. Nobody could remember him anyway, and the scientist that's there to study him kept getting upset because they couldn't remember him for other reasons. So it starts with, after we get the lower deckers scene, we go to the main the command crew who's in a briefing. They're talking about some alien group called the Clackers that's kind of up in arms, and Freeman has they talk about how they don't like to be complimented, things like that. Wonder if that will come up later. Of course, they appeared earlier in the series and nobody could really remember them. So what happens here is the kind of the A, kind of the B plot is that it's about what happens with 4 of the main crew members. Freeman, she's basically going through the day. She's interacting with the crew, including Lieutenant Barnes, who's both de-evolved and super evolved. So she's telepathic, but she's afraid of fire, and Anna figured out how to control her by thinking about a candle. So Freeman's going through, and ultimately it ends the episode. Her arc is resolved when her husband, Admiral Freeman, shows up for a date because it's like their anniversary or something, and it's cute and touching. And that was everything that they were working for that her. Shax, meanwhile, is fighting his own demons, some PTSD from killing Cardassians. So he's got evil him trying to mess with them, and he does astral battle, and it's pretty cool, which comes up in the end. Ransom is overseeing some lower deckers, a couple from Beta Shift, a couple from Delta Shift, who hate each other, and they fight constantly. So Ransom, of course, goes into it with completely pointless long speeches and eventually devolves into working out and taking a nap, which in the end we find out he does that just to inspire them, to give them somebody to hate that brings them together, which is him. Which is kind of cool.
It's what a good executive officer does.
Meanwhile, Ta'ana has had a complaint that her paid scale is that she's underdoing anesthesia, which of course the paid scale is fine and not okay. And unfortunately, Nurse Westlake, who is really, really catty for some reason, tries to help her decide to rework the pain scale, which means basically he tortures the shit out of her.
That's fun.
Just tortures.
And of course, Ta'ana just lets off a litany of swears.
It was the most insane. But ultimately, we find out that the scientist that's on board to study the space cows is one of those clackers, and they decide to take over the ship and go after the command crew. Freeman, with the help of Barnes and her sousaphone, beat the shit out of one of them. Shax is in his astral form is kicking the hell out of Cardassians and destroying the clackers. Ransom is taking a nap, so the lower deckers just fight off the clackers for him. That's pretty much it. And Ta'ana takes a killing blast from his weapon. It says, "That was set to kill." She says, "So am I." And it just jumps and just... Holy shit. It is brutal. It is insane.
I'm telling you, man.
Ta'ana is cranked to 11 in this episode. It is the...
You know what's funny is I keep forgetting, like we're older gentlemen, so we grew up with the only time you ever really saw an episode of a show or whatever again after its first run was either in syndication or in reruns, like usually during the summer, because a season would run maybe from the fall through to spring, and then once spring was in full blast, I figured people were out, doing things outside and not watching much TV. So they would repeat the previous season and you get reruns. Well, now everything is streaming, so it's on demand. And of course, I was thinking, man, I just wish we could see that again. I'm like, of course I can. Here, I can do it right now while we're recording. The
internet is awesome.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Now, to finish up the A plot, Freeman figures out the way to defeat the clackers is basically start complimenting him. I love your whole vibe. And that
your words
pretty much
burn me. Love it.
Yeah. And then we wrap it up when the lower deckers walk out saying, nothing really happens without us here. Oh, was there something that happened?
It's like, what?
This was the most filler episode of the filler episodes, but it was so much fun.
Yeah. Again, because we got more Ta'ana
and more logs than anything. Yeah. We get to see Ransom is actually really good at what he does.
Mm-hmm. That was the best part for me. Was that he actually does know what he's doing.
And I just realized completely, because for some reason Memory Alpha didn't have it. I just realized something. Billups. Oh, yeah. I forgot completely about Billups.
I was thinking, was Billups involved in that?
Yep. Let me go through that. There's a missing indicator. There's an ensign comes up and lets them know there's an indicator light behind a panel that's not lighting. So they end up repelling, and the entire ship is about to explode because it's engineering. So they're going crazy trying to save it. At some point he gets. There's a AI golem that the Binars set up that they have to reason with by telling a story or something. Then Billups gets trapped in a tube and is dying, and the ensign has to get a Starfleet axe that's only for emergencies. What do you think this is? Yeah. She breaks him out.
I love it though, but because
it is so over the top.
Yeah, you see how many things he's jury rigged along the way.
But yeah, but everybody dies, but engineers get to live. And then the episode, then his, of course, I can't remember off the top of my head how he takes out all the clackers, but it's awesome, I'm sure. But in the end, then the little Wesley Crusher like ensign comes up and says, "There's a light out on this thing," and he goes, and he looks like he's been beaten to shed, and they're like, "Okay, let's do this." It is awesome.
I love Billups.
Yes. I love every one of these characters except Miggly Mo, and who didn't. Thankfully, we didn't just had a couple things about most Miggly Mo says is he's going to help give Shax weapons by doing therapy.
Of course.
We get fun with Nurse Westlake rubbing Tana on the head and getting her to purr, and it's a cute little relationship.
Yep.
But yeah, it is. This one was so much fun. The thing I heard from at least a couple people online is that the placement of this it feels like there's so little time. Why is it this late? It's possibly because they had another season or two planned, and this was not the plan to end the show. They're kind of having to scramble to do that. So
yeah, that was my thought when I watched it too. I was like, this would have been a lot better, say, 2 seasons ago
or last season. Although to be fair, Lower Decks appeared in TNG season 7, so and it gave some wrap ups and things like that.
True, but you never saw them again.
Right.
There was a one shot. These characters have been on the show the whole time. So seeing that earlier,
and plus it wasn't
might have been interesting.
And plus there wasn't 2 episodes left. 1 hour of TV left of Lower Decks after this.
That's kind of sobering.
So yeah.
I definitely. It was, as you say, it's a fun episode. It was a filler episode. It's a fun episode. The things I get paranoid. I start looking for sci-fi references in these shows because there's always so many little Easter eggs.
Yeah, if you ever watch what is the Trek Culture, whenever they do a review, they do their Cetacean Ops, and the one when they did what was it, Starbase 80, there were pages of references.
Oh yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Oh, even like I said, I think we talked when we reviewed that one. Even the music, they clicked in some music from Event Horizon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just so much.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But this one, when they talked about the clackers, I had 2 thoughts. First one is I'm telling my age. When we were kids, there was a toy called the clackers.
I remember
There was these 2 balls on a string, and they would clack together. But they recalled them because the balls would explode and like shower children with clacker shrapnel.
That sounds like fun.
And then if you read Terry Pratchett in the book Going Postal, the clackers are this almost like a semaphore communication system that makes the post office obsolete. And I kept thinking, okay, there's got to be some kind of joke about this in here somewhere. But nope, didn't happen. So
yeah, for me, the reference I get whenever you bring him up is when you bring up Terry Pratchett is Death's horse named Binky. Oh my goodness. So yes. Anyways, I agree. This is it is a filler episode, but I felt again it was very very well put together, and it was apropos for the series. Just kind of sad that we are actually getting towards we're in the business end of it now. We have 2 episodes of Lower Decks left to go. And in fact, our next episode regarding Lower Decks, we'll cover both of those episodes together as we say goodbye to the series.
And we're looking at seeing if we can do that live the day the final ep drops.
Right. And that's going to be on December 19th is when that final episode drops on Paramount Plus. So we do want to try to do that live as we as we talk about those 2 episodes specifically, and then wrap up the entire series because
In fact, I will just ask this: when I think I asked this earlier offline, but since this episode will drop and we won't have a chance before then, when were you going to be available that we can roll that episode? Did you work that day?
Are we talking the 19th?
The 19th.
Oh yeah, I do. Actually,
Okay.
I have to.
So we're looking 9 10 p.m.
Yeah, it'll
Eastern.
be later. It'll be later in the evening, Eastern time that we do. But we would stream it live to our YouTube channel, Twitch. Well, at least YouTube, anyways. Anyways, we would. It's in a rare case with it being so timely, we would look to do.
We're
that
rolling.
live.
Yeah, so look for that coming up because that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and I'll announce that on TikTok and of course, all of our other socials, and on Instagram and whatnot.
But I'll mention that here because that's going to be pretty cool. So speaking of cool, let's go to Boimler Beard Watch. Ta-da-da! Okay, so let's see here. That's waiting for it to cycle through here.
Yeah.
That is going to be from Upper Decks. So let's wait one more.
And
we start with there we go, of Gods and Angles. As you can see, he's still getting stuff filled in there. Getting most of them up front, got good mutton chops.
Yep.
And
we get the full Van Dyke there.
Full Van Dyke mutton chops, just some lines to fill in, which I'm guessing will die in the next couple episodes. Somehow Ta'ana didn't shred his face enough to remove it.
Fair enough. So
maybe that's going to be the plot. Is that Boimler will get his face shredded, and that'll be the end of his beard.
Oh no! I thought was funnier actually is if you look at the slide from Fully Dilated right there with Rutherford having a 5 o'clock shadow, and it's like it's even. He even mentions it. He's like, "That's all. It's nice how it filled in evenly."
Mm-hmm.
And Boimler's has been growing in patches.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like mine. I mean, you can't really see it too well here on camera. My beard is I keep it pretty close, but and for the fact most of it is white now. But
look at this with the white goat.
Yeah, look at that, man. So, but it's kind of funny.
Clean shaven, except that I get a 5 o'clock shadow. Homer Simpson style.
Yeah.
Finish shaving. Smooth as a baby's bottom.
Yep. So here's a question for you guys, and if any of your listeners, viewers would like to chime in, what do you think is going to happen with the whole beard story at the end?
I don't know. I mean, I would like to see. I honestly, I'd like to see him get the full beard, but then realize he never needed it. That would be that was where I'd want to see it go.
Yeah, that's what I think will happen. Somebody will tell him if he doesn't do it himself. Somebody's going to tell him you never needed it.
Yeah.
Maybe William Boimler will return because we still have that plot thread hanging out there. His transporter clone twin.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, William Boimler could come all around with no beard. Could come around with a beard, and he realizes, oh, that makes me look evil. I need to lose this.
Yeah, it'd be funny is if he showed
Redford's mirror there.
Maybe he could he could show up and he would have a Dr. McCoy beard from the Motionless picture, the full-on 70s Bush beard.
Is he gonna have his jacket open and the
the hairy chest, like
mm-hmm.
the disco medallion with the giant hairy chest.
Mm-hmm.
Except for Boimler, it'll probably be 3 hairs.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in Fully Dilated, I think he did have a few hairs there. Maybe I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I think they put a few in while they were shirtless, trying to wipe the panel before they commenced the licking. But yeah, one more Boimler beard watch, which I don't know. Good, those slides are gonna be quick to come up. So
yeah, I think what I'll do is when we do the live episode for the last episode, I will do a longer slideshow with all of the slides from episodes 1 through 10.
Yeah. And then make sure, we just get those, and then we'll have the entirety of Boimler Beard Watch.
Yep.
So there we go.
I think it's been a fun little trip to see it develop over the last season.
Yeah. and it will die. I am sure of that. So there you go. Now we've shared our thoughts on this latest episode of Lower Decks. Let us know what you think. Did we get it right, or is there more to discuss? And we got to discuss quickly because we're almost done.
Yep.
So thank you for joining us here on Treknicity, where we do the deep dive on all things in Star Trek multiverse. I'm your host, Patrick Murray, and my co-hosts, Lars DeSenza and Mike Raper. Got that figured out. Luckily, we're stacked, so it's easy to point. Either way, be sure to like and to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Treknicity.com, visiting all the social medias listed here, Facebook, Blue Sky, Instagram, Twitch, not Twitch. What is
TikTok.
that? TikTok. I can't remember. And not Twitter, which is no longer a good site. Find us on your paper podcast, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. If you have any ideas for future episode subjects, go ahead, hit us up at the email, show@treknicity.com, or send us a DM on the social media, or come to the Discord server.
That's the Red Shirt Geeks. So at Red Shirt Geeks. And I'll put a link to the Discord server in the description of this episode.
And we need to definitely add it to social media one day. But either way.
Yes, we do.
Either way, as always, rock out with your Spock out. See you next time.